Hello everyone, it's Blaze, and back with a new little video. Film theory this time. The Book of Bill. I actually have the Book of Bill. I liked it a lot, and I want to see what film theory has for this weird little theory of theirs. So for now, let's just start this thing.
Hello, Internet. This time, you're on your own.
Actually, no. No, you're not.
Who the hell are you? I've never watched film
Hello,
theory.
Internet. Welcome to Film Theory, where that some sunny day is finally here. Yeah, you know what that means. The one-eyed triangular 2D demon Bill Cipher has returned to wreak havoc on the world of Gravity Falls.
I can't wait to see more of it.
If you don't know, Gravity Falls was an animated series on Disney XD.
How have you not heard of it?
Mystery mastermind and theorist champ Alex Hirsch. The show's
Such a
about
great
twins
man.
Dipper and Mabel Pines, who spent summer vacation with their grunkle Stan in the small town of Gravity Falls, Oregon. Here, they encounter all sorts of mysteries and codes and cryptids.
Such a
gnomes
great
that
show. I
kidnap
loved it
kids
so
and killer
much.
animatronics before they were cool. But most importantly, they help defeat Bill Cipher, a demon from the second dimension with godlike powers who was
Second
hell-bent
dimension?
on conquering the world. This show was built from the ground up for theorizing, something Matt pointed out multiple times throughout his theories and why I've been so excited to cover it. Along with FNAF and the MCU, Gravity Falls was one of the shows that really drove an entire generation of theorists. So when Disney
It really
announced
did.
The Book of Bill, a new addition to the Gravity Falls canon written by Alex Hirsch himself, I couldn't wait to get my grubby little theorist hands on it.
And it's such a good
The spirit
book.
of Drunkle Stan just kind of possessed me there. See, unlike a lot of other shows from the same period like Adventure Time or Steven Universe,
Adventure Time? Great show. Loved it a lot. Steven Universe? Good up until season 3. Everything else after that, mediocre to dog shit. That's my theory on it.
there wasn't a lot of Gravity Falls. It got in, told its story in 2 seasons, and then ended. People desperately want Gravity Falls. It got in,
2012 to 2014 is fucking wrong. That thing lasted for so many years. It took a few years just to air season 2. Jesus Christ, that is way off.
told its story in 2 seasons, and then ended. People desperately wanted more of it, which is why people are so hyped for this book. It's promised to show us more of this world and its characters, and let me tell you friends, this thing is dense. We learn so much about this world, about its history and lore, secrets about each of our main characters, and about Bill himself. And that's without cracking any of the mysteries and codes inside. You guys
Yeah, there's
have
a
been
lot of
asking
codes
us to
in this
cover
thing.
book for weeks at this point, and believe me, we've heard you. We've been working on this in the background and wanted to make sure we approached it right. And just to be upfront here, friends, there's a lot here. So much in this book, in the surrounding media, and ARG that there's no way this won't be at least 2 episodes.
Ooh, can't wait for episode
today,
2.
For this theory, we're just going to be
I love
looking
how
at
the book has
contents
a
of the
spine
Book
in
of
it.
Bill itself and what it tells us about the future of this franchise. But don't you worry, it tells us a lot about the future of Gravity Falls. The main thing? Well, it's spelled out clearly in this book in bold, underlined letters, but Bill Cipher is alive. He survived the events of Weirdmageddon, and that might mean the doom of the entire multiverse. But, well, someone's looking out for us. Shake my hand, friends. It's time to get weird. So, probably the first
what's
thing
the
we
theory?
should mention about the Book of Bill is that it canonically originates within the Gravity Falls universe, like the literal physical book itself.
Wait,
it's
really?
a tool that Bill uses to psychically link with the reader, and it haunted Ford over in Gravity Falls until he got sick of it and threw it into a dimensional rift left behind by Weirdmageddon. It then ended up in our world, where the reader finds it and is offered a deal by Bill Cipher. Also, just want to say, in the lore and story of this world, Alex Hirsch must have found this book first, and that confirms our previous theory during Matt's retirement party that he was possessed by Bill Cipher. The author blurb on the back of the book sleeve reads, "Hi friends, I'm Alex Hirsch,
This is the best
creator
detail.
of Gravity Town, and I'm definitely not possessed by a demon right now." And on it goes. Alex then assures us that he's definitely fine and is not calling out for help. He
Help
thinks
me!
the author doth protest too much. Regardless, the book is in our world now, and it's literally in
Now, there's a lot of things I could say about Disney, but their advertisement for this book alone is amazing. Like, straight up. They advertised the hell out of this thing, and I appreciate it for them. One of the few good things Disney has been doing as of late.
infecting other books, while also summoning Bill to broker an agreement with us, let's say. Yeah, he offers us a deal. He'll tell us all about his backstory, but in exchange, we'll owe him a favor somewhere down the road. It's at this point that we're given a choice to say yes or no, and man, I got excited. I thought this was gonna be one of those awesome sort of choose-your-own-adventure books, so naturally, as someone aware of Bill's shenanigans, I said no and flipped to the page it specified, and, well, there was some very small text upside down on the top of the page. It basically told me that not shaking Bill's hand meant that I was going to live out the rest of my life in the most boring way possible. As a middle manager at a mustard factory in Idaho with 4 children, Gervis, Horvin, Borley, and Smunt.
What?
Poor Smunt. On the real, I am absolutely the sort of person that would name like a cat Smunt, and I apologize to my future cat because, well, your name is Smunt. Okay, so it really seems like if we want all of the new juicy lore in this book, we need to agree to Bill's terms. And hey, well, I've sold my soul for less. We agreed to this deal,
Wow.
and whoa! In one of the coolest bits of meta storytelling I've ever seen in this sort of product, Bill starts laughing maniacally and literally rips his way through the book into our reality. Honestly, it's really slick stuff.
Many people made a
and
deal with this man.
terrifying. And though you might expect Bill to immediately kill us here and move on, nah, he doesn't. He actually keeps up his end of the bargain, and then some. As you can imagine, diving into the Book of Bill has taken a ton of my time that I only have thanks to the sponsor for today's
Skip.
episode. At this point, the content
I ain't sponsored by them, so I skip those sponsor segments until I'm sponsored by them.
of the book
Which will be
becomes
forever.
super varied, bouncing between sections that look like magazines, Q&As with Bill about the concept of love, a how-to guide on how to get into heaven. It's mysteriously left blank, so immediately you get what Bill thinks about that idea. There are tons
never
of
getting in there.
codes that you'll need to decipher if you want the whole story, and there's even just straight-up excerpts ripped from a book called The Great Gatsby. This was a novel by F. Scott Fitzgerald that everybody had to read in like the 7th
I
grade,
didn't.
which just entered the public domain a couple of years ago, so hey, why not? It's still weird, but why not? But a couple
that's
of my
funny.
favorite-
They literally just got it into public domain and they're using it in their book. Oh, Alex Hirsch, you are a great madman and I love you for that. Oh, you have my unrespiting respect. Yes, English is hard.
sections? Well, first off, there's a whole section talking about urban legends and cryptids that look like they're ripped straight out of some analog horror here on YouTube.
Or
There's
Trevor Henderson.
Man who lies about people. Guillermo del Torso, who has a passion for cinema and has written a script for National Treasure 4. The Off Model, which
What?
is a monster that looks like bootleg IP and would just like legitimately be a good monster for this sort of analog horror. Can we make that? And the Mirror Dimension that contains monsters like Bloody Mary, Dysmorphio, and David Lynch. Yes, as in film director David Lynch. I am losing my gosh dang mind because this is hilarious and exactly the sort of humor just made for me. Then there's a whole section about the concept of morality, which Bill believes is 100% flexible and that karma is a scam. He's immediately hit in the eye by a paper airplane after he says that, so I mean, I'll be
Ouch.
the judge of whether or not he's
Oh,
right.
one
That's
big
fine,
eye gets
but
a paper
the whole
airplane.
reason that I'm pointing this out is that he gives us, the reader, a moral test here. On this page, he's imprisoned an elf named Scrimbles with bones made of glass. If we turn the page and continue on our journey to learn all about the new lore, we'll crush Scrimbles and he'll die. That's hilariously dark and, well, I mean, sorry Scrimbles, there's lore to uncover. Forgive me. We also get some
And
new lore
dead.
about the Pines family. There's a whole section dedicated to the missing pages of Journal 3 and Ford's earliest interactions with Bill, and another where Bill talks about the dreams of many of the main characters, including Dipper. Bill explains that Dipper has a recurring nightmare about overhearing a fight between his parents that he wasn't supposed to hear, before wondering why Dipper and Mabel got sent to Gravity Falls for
Are
the
they
summer on
divorcing?
such short notice. Yeah, that's pretty dark, implying that this whole series only exists because their marriage was falling apart, and the parents needed Dipper and Mabel out of the house while they worked out what to do. Ouch, that one hits right in the feels.
That does
That was a
hurt.
lot of the fun, if weird and dark stuff here in the book. What's the real meat and potatoes,
Or
though?
Dipper.
Where's the real lore? Well, again, true to his word, Bill tells us exactly where he comes from. Bill explains that he's from a world called Euclidia, where no one could comprehend the third dimension, but he was born with a mutation that lets him see into the third dimension. This was apparently cursed and forbidden knowledge. Bill claims that talking about the third dimension was illegal in his world. Despite this, Bill still wanted to share the truth with the rest of his people, but, well, we're not sure what happened, and neither is Bill. He says that he heard a loud buzzing and that he blacked out, and that he still does whenever he thinks about this, but when he came to, no one was alive in his universe except for him. He killed them all.
What?
Now, in this very explanation, Bill says that
Baby
he's
Bill.
not some misunderstood character that can be humanized by a tragic backstory, but I'm not so sure about that.
I love his little
Don't get me
sneakers.
wrong, Bill is a bad guy, an awful person, and definitely a villain, but I'm not so sure he ended up that way all on his own. At the beginning of this section, we see Bill bursting through a wall behind a TV with a strange symbol on it. Well, this is actually from the cover of a story called Flatland, written by Edwin Abbott Abbott. In Flatland, a two-dimensional square is visited by a three-dimensional sphere, who teaches him to look outside of his perspective. And once the square learns about the third dimension, he tries to convince his fellow 2D shapes, but is jailed for what is considered madness. Perhaps something similar happened here with Bill, with some multi-dimensional being enlightening Bill and sending him down his villainous path. Regardless, the result is the same. Bill ended up
Poor
killing
Bill.
everyone in Euclidia and moved on to a new universe. From here, Bill found himself in the Nightmare Dimension, where he formed a band of ne'er-do-wells called the Henchmaniacs to help him get up to all sorts of shenanigans. We actually know most of these characters from the actual show. For 1 trillion years, they robbed banks together, crashed planets together to make them kiss, conquered dynasties, and even recorded a Christmas album. But not all good
was
things
bad.
can last. Eventually, the Nightmare Realm came apart at the seams as entropy caught up with the universe and destroyed it. Bill then ended up in the series from the universe and was drawn to the area that would someday become Gravity Falls, where he met a shaman who created the prophecy of the 10 cosmic symbols from the series and banished Bill from the area. From here, Bill traveled the world and encountered different societies, the Aztecs and the Egyptians and the indigenous people of Easter Island. He also explains that Atlantis was real and apparently existed around the time of King Henry VIII. Seems like a major lore drop there. and
Really?
I really want to know the implications of the whole world.
Bill is crazy.
Forgetting Atlantis was a thing, where it was, and how it sank. Fast forwarding past the events of Gravity Falls and Weird Mageddon, it's revealed that Bill did in fact survive being erased along with Stan's memories. He made a deal with the great Axolotl, who promised to let Bill live
So
if he could
cute.
overcome his greatest trial. The most dangerous thing Bill could possibly face: therapy. Yeah, really, the Axolotl sends Bill
Oh my
to a
gosh.
dimension outside of time called the Theraprism, where he has to make up for all of his cosmic crimes. What goes around comes around.
Okay, not gonna lie, I've been watching, or not watching, reading some comics on Twitter about Bill trying to overcome his hatred, and they are really good. I did not realize that's where this came from. Like, I just skimmed through the book when I first got it. I didn't actually read through it. So learning all this really makes it even better.
Regardless, this book is actually a project that Bill is working on while in therapy, and he smuggled it out of the Theraprism and into our reality against the rules of the institution. But Bill signs off the book by promising that someday he will get out. Someone will let him out, and we might have an idea just to who that is.
Us?
At the very,
We did.
very end of the book, I'm talking like the last couple pages, we see a picture of the Bill Cipher statue in the woods from the end of the series. However, if we turn the page, we see that same statue
The eye
again,
glows.
but its eye has started glowing. Why would the statue suddenly come to life here? Well, zoom in and look at his hand. A bird is perching on it. Has this bird shaken Bill's hand and unwittingly agreed to become his new host just by looking for a place to land? Maybe.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, you
In the
dumb
days
bird.
leading up to the book of Bill's release, a Twitter account called the Oregon Parks Department opened as a viral marketing campaign and included pictures of a bird known as the Western Meadowlark. Look at this thing. This is a real bird that is the spitting image of Bill Cipher. The yellow
Is he
chest
turned
even
into
has
a
a
bird?
little
Oh my
black
gosh!
top hat shape at the top. This little birdie might have just given Bill Cipher the wings he needed to fly out of the Theraprism and back into the world of Gravity Falls
Bill Bird.
once again. So yeah, that's the story of the Book of Bill, and a small hint to where things might be going. But that's just the topmost layer. We've already touched on a few of them, but this book is packed with additional secrets hidden if you read
Tell me
between
the
lines
secrets.
and hidden codes to crack that let us know
Tell
so
me.
much more
I wanna
about
know.
this world. For instance, the Book of Bill confirms that there's a Gravity Fall multiverse in play here. In the Parallel Dimensions section, Bill points out just how improbable it was that Dipper and Mabel survived all of the events of the show without getting erased, drowned, frozen, or dismembered. But that's only because we're in the only timeline where that didn't happen.
Wow.
In basically every other one, Dipper and Mabel die horrible deaths at the hands
Ugh.
of the freaky stuff from the series. What's more, the entirety of this multiverse is actually contained within a Pokemon card. Like, literally a Pokemon card.
I love this so much. That is awesome. 50 HP for the multiverse. That is hilarious. I don't even remember seeing the Pokemon card or just glossed over it without thinking about
In
it.
the backpack of an unfathomable being outside of time named Dennis. Considering that our universe is part of this
Dang it,
Gravity
Dennis!
Falls multiverse, that means that we too are part of this Pokemon card. And it's not even shadowless. That's tragic. Oh, and speaking
Which is
of,
common.
on this page explaining the Pokemon card multiverse, if you look closely, you'll see a series of symbols running down the side.
Oh, I
of the
never
card.
noticed those.
This is obviously a cipher, and when you decode it, it reads, "Warning, folding this card may result in crossovers." That, in and of itself, is a fun nod to the amount of multiversal crossovers we've got
That
in
is
the past
funny.
few years, but there's actually
Wait.
a lot of crossovers.
When did Bill get into the Owl House? I missed some shit. I still need to finish watching that show.
Hidden in this very book that create a really wide Disney cartoon cinematic universe. For instance, a Titan skull from the Owl House, another series that Alex Hirsch worked on, can be found in this section about the Dark Ages, while there's another rune cipher in that same section that translates to Titan blood. Later on, the Kor's helmet
Ooh.
from Amphibia can be seen in the Theraprism alongside Bill.
Oh.
And finally, early on
That's
in
cool.
the Bill Tells All section, Bill is asked if he's the biological father of Phineas from Phineas and Ferb before ending the interview.
That is
Phineas's
funny.
Tanglehead suddenly makes a
That
lot
is
more sense,
dumb.
doesn't it?
I
Regardless,
love it.
all of this alongside Matt's previous theory that Rick and Morty also takes place in this same multiverse really means that there's a giant web of animation that's all connected here. Might just need to do a theory about that sometime, huh? Now, a lot of the hidden codes and mysteries in here are fun, like this Pokemon card connection, but others, well, not so much. Some of them are crazy complicated and hint at a darker story for Bill, one filled with regret and sorrow. For example, there's a code hidden in one of the pages in the Barnes & Noble edition of the book. Yeah, if you didn't know, Barnes & Noble had an exclusive version of the Book of
Seriously?
Bill which had additional content. Something that none of us here at Theorist realized until we'd already gotten our copies off of Amazon. Thank God for overnight shipping.
What the fuck, Barnes and Nobles? Now I have to go buy another book!
Regardless, in the Messages on Your TV section in the Barnes & Noble edition, at the very bottom of the page, you'll notice a series of square color blocks. At first, I thought this was just a weird, glitchy effect to really drive
Same.
home the analog nature of this page, with the scan lines and chromatic
thought it-
aberration and
that
all
just
the
looks like a
VHS
regular
goodness.
glitchy.
But there's actually a pattern to these colors. Yeah, they correspond to letters of the alphabet, and if you decode the right order, it spells out the message: he never sleeps, he never dreams, but somehow still he hears their screams.
How the hell
This
do
has
you
to be
figure that
about
out?
Bill. He isn't sleeping or dreaming, but he's still haunted by the screams of everyone he's killed. This is further driven home on the page covered in silly straws. There's a line of digits that all correspond with episodes of Gravity Falls and time codes within them. And when the words spoken at these time codes are all strung together, we get this message.
Twisted out of shape after them
Ghosts
of his family.
are haunting.
Him still
If that was a bit hard to
Wow.
follow, it says, twisted out of shape after the kill, the ghosts of his family are haunting him still. The memory of his parents, his
That is
original
dark.
homeworld, are still haunting Bill, even after all these trillions of years. Also, we actually learn the name of his parents through another code in this book, and this has to be one of the most creative ciphers that I've ever encountered in my time here at Theorist. On
they
the
just say
codes
it?
page, despite Bill insisting that there are no codes in this book, you'll notice a ring of letters carved into the tree here on this page. That might seem a bit random at first, but these letters line up perfectly with something else in the book. All throughout the pages, sometimes there are coffee ring stains that are a perfect size to fit inside this ring of letters. And there are gaps in the rings that line up with individual letters. And not only that, but there are other stains, little dots around the gaps that tell us the order of the letters here. If you spell out all of the letters from the rings and and put them in the correct order here, it makes a new message that reads, "His dimension now deceased, scalene in Euclid, rest in peace." A scalene
Holy
is a type
shit.
of triangle with sides and angles of all different lengths and degrees, while Euclid was an ancient Greek mathematician with expertise in geometry. These are the names of Bill's parents, the ones that still haunt his dreams, the ones who he can still hear the screams of. That is so dark and so
That
cool,
is so
and
dark.
one of the
Awesome.
best puzzles I've ever encountered in a book like this. Seriously, a clap and a half for Alex here. But for as cool as that
Clappin'.
is, something's weird here, right? A lot of the codes in this book are written by Bill himself, and you can tell when they are. He has his own very specific way of speaking and his own rune cipher that is consistent for his character, but a lot of these, they don't sound like Bill, or they're talking about Bill. No, someone else is writing codes in here, and there are a few options, and who it is might end up being very important if Bill is truly coming back through that bird. First option? Well, the clear and obvious choice would be the axolotl. He's already shown to be more powerful than Bill, enough to put him in therapy, so maybe he's trying to help Bill work through some
Wow.
stuff here. But
I
that's
didn't know how
also the
powerful
most
axolotls actually are. I am impressed.
obvious option and the most boring. The second and less obvious option? Well, it could be the people that he's possessed over the years. Yeah, for real. We learn in the book that Bill isn't alone inside of his head. At the bottom of the page about Skin, there's a section that gets cut off called Learning is Fun, but it's not what you'd expect. Instead of more factoids about Skin, we're shown a cry for help from someone named Grebly Himberdrek of Zimtrex 5, one of thousands of souls that Bill has consumed over the years.
What the hell is
It's not
that?
entirely clear how this would happen, but I think it's a pretty safe guess to say that these souls Bill consumed were the people that he's made deals with. And now they're stuck inside of Bill's mind, where he plays Good Vibrations by Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch on loop forever. That's actor Mark Wahlberg's previous career, by the way. Yes, he was a rapper, really. This also tells me
Seriously?
that Alex Hirsch and I have a very similar sense of humor, because
Wow,
I
that's
died
impressive.
laughing when I read this and immediately went and listened to the song. As a wise man once said, I want to get mine, so get yours. I want to see sweat coming out your pores. Regardless,
What the
we
fuck?
see here that one of these characters was able to take the wheel away from Bill enough to write this blurb. Perhaps they're also writing these secret codes and will help us fight Bill when he comes back. Or maybe the fight will be way more personal, with option number 3, Bill's ex-girlfriend. All throughout the book, Bill makes a point to avoid any questions about his own romantic history. In the love section, he redacts a couple of lines before exclaiming that his ex-partners were not relevant because I don't have any. Yeah, sure, Bill, sure. Later,
why'd you write
while
those down?
introducing his crew of henchmaniacs, one of them is completely scribbled out in red marker with a big label saying, not important. If you look through the red marker, you can barely make out that this character's name is Jessie, and her art looks like she has a lot of eyes, maybe 7 of them. If that doesn't mean anything
I only
to
see
you,
3.
fair, but if you devoured Journal 3 when it released like we here at Theorists did, you'll recognize that this character looks and sounds a lot like a character known as the Oracle. This is a 7-eyed
Oh.
woman named Jesselbrom the Unswerving, a name that could easily be shortened to Jessie, a character that Bill clearly doesn't want us to think about because she is his ex-girlfriend. That would explain why Jessie didn't show up in Weirdmageddon. If she and Bill broke up on bad terms, enough so that Bill wants to scrub her out of his own history, yeah, she wouldn't want to show up for that. Maybe she's the one who is writing these codes about Bill's regrets, something that she would know as his ex-partner, trying to help us find a way to beat him in the future. To me, that is the most exciting option, Jessie coming back and trying to help defeat her evil ex once and for all. But we'll just have to wait and see. So yeah, all in all, that's the story and the codes
These are some
hidden in
good
the book of
theories.
Bill. It's a lot, and there are puzzles and ciphers here that go even deeper, and weird choices that might not make a lot of sense if you read this book with zero context. Like, for real, I mentioned this earlier, but there are just straight up several pages ripped from The Great Gatsby republished in here. Strange, right? Well, there was a reason for that, one that starts us down a whole new rabbit hole. Let me explain. After we accept Bill's offer at the beginning of the book, it sort of resets, and we're given a new cover and a new page full of all the publishing information of the book. All of this information is now themed around Bill, and at the bottom of the page, we're encouraged to visit thisisnotawebsite.com.com. If you did that earlier early on, like right after the book was released, you were asked for
I
a
didn't.
password. What was this password? Well, early on in the book, we're given the one true intelligence test, and one of the puzzles just looked like a bunch of random lines and squiggles. And if you look physically at this image at an extreme angle, the lines form into words and gives you this message. Need a password? Fine, I'll talk. It's the name of the eyeball doc. And guess what? The pages of The Great Gatsby talk about the eyeball doctor, T.J. Eckelberg. Type T.J. Eckelberg into the website and bam, a whole new world is opened up for us to explore. Now, this
For 10
theory
minutes.
is already long. I wish we could dive into this whole new part of the ARG today, but we just don't have time. I can literally hear our editors angry at me because this video is already longer than 20 minutes. But this is me promising you right now that we are going to do a second theory all about thisisnotawebsite.com as soon as we can. And just
I am
like
watching
the
it
Book
as
of
soon as
Bill
it comes
tells
out.
us so much about the future story of the Gravity Falls universe, I think this ARG is telling us exactly how Alex Hirsch and Disney are planning on doing it. So please subscribe for that theory coming really soon because it's gonna be weird, y'all. But until then, remember that it's all just a theory. A film theory. And cut. And if you want
Straight up, I loved this series a lot. Book of Bill, I honestly loved. Disney did one of the best jobs they could of marketing this thing, and honestly, I'm very happy they did. Alex Hirsch is one of the goats in film writing, and I just love it for that. Straight up, this is a great theory, great video, straight up, great book. I loved it a lot, and I can't wait to see what happens with the ARG, because I don't really know much about the ARG, to be honest, and I'm excited to learn more about it. But for now, thank you all for watching this, and I'll see you in whatever I post next. Bye, guys.